Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
All righty. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday night, and Happy New Year's to everyone that is watching, that will watch later on. Join in with us. How are y'all doing today? I hope and pray that everything is wonderful and that nothing can stop you, nothing will stop you, and that your growth will be wonderful. I was trying to fix it, but it kept something added happened again. But hey, we're there, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. Join in with us. Again, Happy New Year. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you decided to join in with us. We're glad that you decided to say, you know what, I want to try this thing one more time in this new year. And you chose to listen to us. How y'all doing on this wonderful day?
Great.
Good.
Absolutely. It was it really was a good feeling. Today felt good to me. The weather was good. I enjoyed it. I almost, I kind of wanted to leave work because it was feeling so good. Right. But I know I had to be there. Nonetheless, again, I'm glad to be here. And we want to start off this new year with talking about different topics. And I'm sharing with you our January, February, March timeline. January, we want to talk about family issues. February, we want to come back with mental health conditions. And in March, we want to try to get back into emotional wellness. And all this ties into what we talk about, the Total Man Initiative, starting out the first 3 months of the year. That way, it will give you a guideline on where we are, what we are assuming to talk about. And if you have any questions or any concerns or anything you want to talk about within those issues or subjects, topics, then you can feel free to, chime in, let us know, send us messages and all that, and then we can get with you on those topics as we talk about it on our Wednesday nights. Tonight, a blessed and dysfunctional family.
That's good.
Somebody say, how can a family be blessed and dysfunctional? Well, one thing I can tell you is I'm pretty sure that almost every family has some skeletons in their closets. Some skeletons and some things that they don't want to come out. Some things that they would rather not come out. And, some things that people have said, I'm taking it to my grave and, right. X, Y, and Z. And some of those things can be harmful. Some of those things can actually be beneficial. And some of those things are the things that have hurt generations. They have hurt our youth. They have hurt us because we sometimes don't know the truth. Sometimes we're afraid to talk about certain things. And then sometimes it's just we're not open to just sitting at the table and having a discussion about, well, why this? And I think that's one of the things that we have to fix and try to get better at is having a sit-down conversation when there's an issue within the family. And I know sometimes those issues can cause, as people say, other cans to open. But if that's the case, then if there's a problem, you sit down with the person that you think can help solve the problem. If there are some issues or something that they don't want open, then let them tell you that, let's try to address this a different way because I don't think we need to open a can. And it could cause some other issues, but at that point, now it's time to seek professional help. Because then, you know that there are some things that can help, but they can also hurt. So we want to make sure that we're trying to help everyone in all cases. Because some of those skeletons in the closet, people may have known better, but they didn't do better, or they didn't do the right thing. And they happen, but that's what we're trying to get away from, is just not doing the right thing or talking about the right thing. Pastor Sam, you have been, of course, on this earth longer than I have, and I know you have seen your fair share of dysfunction being a pastor and, just being a father, seeing dysfunction in families and how they affect the families and how they affect the church as well. Right. And how would, being one that I've heard you talk about, you have grown to talk more and more with your kids, and y'all have discussions about things. How has that helped your family dynamics when others would see that y'all are able to do that?
I would go a little further than that. We don't really have a real big family. Sibling wise, there was only 4 of us.
Okay.
Growing up, it was me, my older brother, only one sister, and my younger brother. So our family dynamics was real tight because there wasn't many of us, and we was taught early on, no matter what goes on in the family, we had family court, we had family discussion, we had all of these things growing up. So we was always taught, to speak your mind. We was always taught to, to talk things out, to work things out.
Right.
So, and my mom, one of her rules was never to go to bed under wrath. Never. I can't remember how she used to put it, but
on your wrath.
Never let the sun set on your wrath. Right. So that was one of the things that we had to deal with growing up. We had to learn how to work our issues out. Now, me and my older brother, for the most part, we fought every day of my life that I can remember. Well, we didn't fight. I got beat up. Every day of my life that I can remember, from 0 to 18.
Right.
That was the way, his thing was, I'm going to toughen you up so you can be tough. So every day, I knew it like clockwork. Every day I was going to be balled up in a knot and he was going to beat me. But, that was his way of showing me his love. You know what I'm saying? And later on in life, we bonded like that. That was kind of our thing. Don't matter where we were, we was finna throw some blows, and people would think that we was mad at each other and that we've taken it too far. But it was just our normal routine after so many years. So that was a part of our bond, that we roughhouse each other. But my younger brother was totally the opposite. Sensitive, brainiac. So I had to learn how to deal with him different because I wanted to deal with him the same way my older brother dealt with me. But I used to beat him and he'd go tell mom. And then I get in trouble and I'm like, what did I do? I'm just trying to make him tough. I'm doing the same thing to him that Willie did to me.
Right.
But I learned that siblings are different, and you have to learn how to deal with each other according to, how each individual act and their own different personality.
Right.
So we have to learn each other in that sense and learn how to deal with each other. So I really applaud my parents for being innovative. I don't know if they really knew what they were, because parenting is it's kind of one of those, you don't know if you're a good parent until you see how your child turns out.
But then it still don't make you a bad parent.
It doesn't. Right. It doesn't. Sometimes you just have a bad child.
Right.
So it's an experiment.
Yeah.
So, they experiment just worked. It was just by chance that it clicked for us as siblings. And we never did really have, we fought, we fell out.
Right.
But like mom and dad taught us, we never went to bed angry or upset with each other. Now we may still, I might still be like, I'm mad at you, but but I don't hate you. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we got that squash,
Right.
but I'm still kind of in my feelings about it. You still wasn't right. You didn't do me right. And you know, and it may take a couple of days to kind of iron everything out. But for the most part, you know, when we went to bed, everybody was good. So it wasn't like we wasn't speaking to each other
Right.
when we went to bed. And a lot of people don't believe it when I say that, because you know, a lot of people just can't believe that we really get along. We really got along that well.
So you would say that they forgiveness was one of the biggest things that they taught y'all as children. To grow up.
Forgiveness and the ability to be able to talk it out.
Okay. Reconciliation. And I think, you know, a lot of people don't know how to reconcile, you know, when there's a problem. Because, and at that time, there's some people that there may be a problem, but that problem isn't really the problem, because some other things that are going on with them cause them to react or act out. So now the problem that they say, oh, so you're going to leave the wrapper on my table and not pick it up. Is that really a problem?
Right.
You know, or was it something that you did, you know, something that happened to you while you was at work, or somebody else made you mad? And you know what? Go ahead.
That's another thing. We was taught not to take our feelings out on each other. So that was another big thing, because you know, my mom was quick at really kind of seeing through you. You know, she can see, man, you come in the house, look, okay, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No. Sit right down here. And that, you know, when I think about it now, man, it was so clever and so brilliant. You know, I'm not trying to really toot our horns, but I know it had to have been God, because, man, she was so quick to be able to see what's going on in our lives. I don't know if it was discernment or God gave her this special ability, but I promise you, I used to be almost afraid to do anything wrong, because my mom was so sensitive when it came to us. You could walk through the door, come here, what you done? Like, man, what do this woman have ESP? Or what is going on? And even to this day, I'm 50 years old. My mom would pick up the phone and call me and say something ain't right. Yeah. I'm like, God, I can't get away with nothing.
Right. Yeah.
But I can't really tell you how. I can't. But that was just our thing growing up.
So from Abraham to Isaac to Joseph, you know, the biblical stories about how his brothers sold him into slavery.
Right.
And, you know, I sit here and I thought about that story, and I said, you know, I really couldn't imagine my brothers and sisters, my family, my siblings selling me to slavery because they felt like I was the favorite. Now, a little bit about my story was, before I was born, it was 3 boys and 3 girls. So when they found out that my mom was pregnant with me, it was like, oh no, you know, here this baby come, he's gonna break the mold.
Right.
You know?
It was level
out. So now it's out of balance. So, you know, they gave me the nickname of Love Child because of that. But I say that I never felt as if they would outcast me or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, coming up. Now, even though our age differences, you know, my closest brother to me is 9.5 years, 9 and some change older than I am. So I didn't really have a relationship with my brothers and sisters until I got older. My relationship came about with my nieces and nephews, you know, and most of them were right around with me, who were more like my brothers and sisters. And now it's like that. So that can create some type of dysfunction in it too, because you don't really know how to have a relationship with your brother and sister, because now you have, you know, your nieces and nephews who are now your brother and sister more. Right. So it's like, as you get older, now you're trying to rekindle a relationship with your actual brother and sister that you're grown. And now a lot of things that happened as a child resurface. And then, as we said earlier, that can opens up as to why this happened or why this didn't happen. So now it creates, if you're not ready for it, it creates chaos and create trauma. It can create all type of feelings to come up as to why was I alone, or why I was not around, my siblings, even though they were older.
And I think also, the black family was, we was taught to hide things and suppress things, and get over it.
Right.
Get over it. And I think, because back before our generation, they was having so many more children.
Right.
So you had, like, my grandmother had 19 children. 6 died like right around birth, back then. That was kind of thing. Okay, well, let's go to the next one.
Right.
So that was 19 years that she was actually pregnant. For the first 19 years of her marriage, she was pregnant every year with a child for the most part.
Right.
After 6 died, 13 were living, and those 13 actually lived until now. I think there's only 2 that has passed since then. So they had sections.
Right.
Like the first 4 was a group. Then the second 4 was a group. The third 4 was a group.
Right.
4 group. So they had sections of siblings that had bonds together because they was the close ones. So you're looking at a 5 or 6 year age group where they fell into a whole nother group of siblings.
Right.
So it kind of goes with what you were saying, because your siblings was so much older than you that you really kind of missed
a lot.
All of the bonding as far as siblings are concerned, because they were so much older than you. Ain't like your 9-year-old brother want to take a 1-year-old out and hang out with him. That's babysitting.
Right.
So he
when
definitely
16, 17.
I'm not taking Keon. No, that's a baby. So you can understand that, but that's exactly the way it worked with my my aunts and uncles, and it did cause rifts, because each group, was either jealous of the group before or jealous of the group after.
Right.
So it is kind of weird when you think of it that way.
So how is it to grow up with all girls in the house?
It sucks.
He was talking to me.
Oh. Oh, my bad.
First I was gonna say that how they learn to not go to let the sun set on your wrath. Sometimes I think they kind of turn into, like he said, we just won't talk about it and kind of move on. So when they were raising me and my cousins, sometimes things were not talked about. Right. And although you had these feelings about it, you just kind of had to say well, I guess we just suck it up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until we got older and we was able to explain to them we going to sleep mad still. Just because we're not talking about it, that don't mean it's over. Right. So that was that. And growing up with girls, my mom was attitude. Then me and my sister had the same attitude. Then the youngest 2, they was 2 totally different people. And they stuck together through everything. So it was them against everybody.
So there was sibling rivalry. So
I say everybody was jealous of me, but you know how it is.
When you're the gift.
Yeah, when you are the password child, I see that on TikTok. People be saying the password child. I'm the password child.
But I'm glad you said that. Imagine that in them selling you to slavery.
That'd be a hard sell. That'd be a hard sell.
Really, true. I just need somebody to offer. Make me an offer. Anybody, y'all make me an offer. $2. Done deal. She gone. I'll take $1.50 about right now. Cold drink.
I'm gonna keep you, Jay.
Thank you, Mom.
Just like what happens with Joseph, sold into slavery because Joseph was in the house while all the other brothers and sisters was out doing all the other work, and they sent him out. He was sent out to see what they were doing.
That almost sounds like you. I ain't talking about Jacob. I'm talking about Jesus.
I was gonna say
He was the baby, so everybody else was out.
I know Lil was
And you know, he already done told y'all weeks ago that they did farming and his daddy. He was in the house probably watching cartoon while his brother was out there on top of the tractor out there in the garden.
My brother was saying I hate it.
Yeah. They probably tried to sell you. You just didn't know it.
That's why they gave me the name Love Child.
Right. You love child of mom and dad, but the brother and sister say, I hate his guts. I hate his guts. I hate it.
But to be able to grow and to talk about those things now, show that you don't really hold back onto things that happened then. Sometimes there are some things that allow you to be bottled up and say, man, I can't believe they did me like this. I can't believe they treated me this way. And the way that Joseph came back and he was able to not hold it against his brothers and sisters,
right?
For what they did, because think about it, he was only really doing what his father told him to do. Go out and check on them, make sure this is going on, and they out there, doing what boys do. They tend the flock, whatever else they were trying to do, and here he come. He coming down here to tell on us, Ted, go back and tell Daddy that we wasn't doing what we were supposed to be doing, and we were just,
right.
hanging up under the tree.
Right.
And in that, they wanted to kill him. And we sit today and we think about why our youth are so, I don't want to say the word bad, but misunderstood.
Yeah.
Some of that is because it has been going on since the beginning of time, and some of these things have not been discussed on how to deal with these things, and to know that some of these things will happen, but we just have to, as parents, you have to understand how to deal with them. And as you were saying earlier, that you can't treat two kids the same, no matter who they are.
Right.
You have to be able to understand that, you may not like apples, but you like oranges. But what we gonna say? You're gonna eat what's in the house.
But you know what? I think there's a level of responsibility that you have to take as adults. And the reason I say this is because there's so many young children don't understand how hard it is to be parents,
right,
are leaders of a family, and how big the responsibility is that you have for that child that you brought into the world. Because I was just listening to my daughter, and really I feel like that I feel like we've done a pretty decent job. But even to hear her say that there was times that they went to bed mad,
mm-hmm.
and
didn't
really discuss it, or did. So sometimes when you think you're really doing good, sometimes some things will fall through the cracks.
Right.
Even when you're trying your best to get it right,
mm-hmm.
because I was trying to emulate what my mom and dad did, and I don't know, maybe it was because I had all girls this round that I didn't look at things the
mm-hmm.
way they looked at us. You know what I'm saying?
So you were soft.
But I was real soft, real soft. And so, I've always been, I guess, raising girls I just always thought that it'd have been so much different if I had boys, because raising girls was like, I'm a protector, I'm a provider. I'm not really a disciplinarian.
Right. So
because there was girls and I was always afraid, like I didn't want to whoop my girls because I was afraid that maybe I might hit them too hard, or I might, may do something that wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can really say that I don't know if I ever even whooped any of my girls.
Yeah, I remember one time, and I deserved it.
See how she remembers stuff?
She said, "Go ahead and get that bed." I was like, "Nah." I thought it was playing. He whooped me because I was taking for a joke. I think I got one extra lick because I was taking for a joke.
One lick. That's you got whooping.
An extra lick.
Oh, extra lick.
And it hurted him more than it hurt you.
I must have hit her about 2 times.
I was crying.
She was crying.
Your feelings were hurt.
I remember times when their mom said, you need to whoop them girls, and I took them in the room and said, y'all make some noise. Make some noise like that. And I think I hit the floor, hitting
You couldn't do it.
there was something just inside me, like I wasn't, it was just like I wasn't supposed to do it. So I really put that job on my wife.
Right.
You know, now I've had many stern talks with my girls, but
that's worse than a whooping.
well, yeah, I use that cross psychology on it. Yeah, but you know, so I mean, you do the best you can. So I don't think that there's no perfect family, but I do think that in raising your family, and if you're attentive, you know, if you really pay attention, I think you would do a good job. And I think the problem that most of us have is that life brings about, we got so much going on.
Right.
We're limited in time, and this is where I feel that we're losing our kids, is because there's so many other things that's occupying our time that we really don't have time to raise our children. Right. And that to me is one of the biggest problems, because even though my father worked off, my father worked in Louisiana. He worked 6 days a week. 5 was a good week. Right. But normally he was going to work 6 days a week. He would drive home, pick us up, and we would go back to Louisiana, and it was always the same, that we were going to go fishing, but that was his way of kind of catching up the week. Yeah. You know, or we would do a project. He always working on a raggedy car, out there in the yard, hauling pulp wood. He would think of things. It was work for us, but for him, it was a bonding experience, especially with all the boys. Yeah. You know, my sister used to hate it, like, oh man, I got to go out here with these boys. I don't want to fish. I don't want to hunt. You know, but he would force them, and that will be our bonding kind of. And a lot of times the first thing he'd do is, who need a whooping for the week? My mama be done wrote down everything wasn't done from Monday through Friday. Willie gonna always get a whooping. Every week he got a whooping. Willie did this because he beat me up every day. So Willie traumatized Sammy. He beat him. He was crying. Didn't clean up. Beat Vanna up. And Willie was a terror when I think about it now. So he was gonna get a whooping every week. Right. And so what Daddy would do, he would say, okay, so just all y'all come. Let me just whoop everybody. Yeah. We're gonna get it over with. And I would sit in the middle. He would put all of us on the bed, and I would sit in the middle, and Willie be on the end. Vanna would be at the front. So me and Vanna didn't feel nothing, because the belt was gonna hit the biggest rump, and he had the biggest rump. So we would and I would be the one that would cry for about 2 hours. Didn't feel absolutely nothing, but would cry for about 2 hours. And we'd be going on to something else. But that was, he disciplined us, and then he turned around and reinforced the discipline with love. It was like, okay, y'all know y'all got to be punished for what you done wrong. Right. But I'm not mad at y'all. Right. Y'all just need to understand you can't do this. Now let's go do something. We'll go get ice cream, or we'll go fishing, or whatever the case. Right.
So let's talk parent-child relationships. The importance of parent-child relationships, and not to mistake that with parent-child friendships, but parent-child relationships. And I think that's where a lot have possibly gone wrong with being a friend to their child instead of actually being that, true mother or father figure as best they know how to. And I know it gets hard because, as you were saying, a lot of people don't have time. So a lot of times you can equate time with, money or they will equate time with money or letting them do whatever they want to do, when they know that it's not the right thing to do. And it causes that child to grow up feeling as if they are their close friend. Right. So now they're able to, well, you didn't get on to me before, so why are you getting on to me now? And I think, because some of the things were left out as we were coming up, mouths being closed, not being able to speak about how things truly were in some families, has caused some parents to not really know how to raise their kids, because what they saw in their parents is something that they may not have liked, but they didn't understand at the time that their parents only knew what they knew, that they didn't really know how to raise a child the right way. Because as the trend keeps going, you keep going back, there was really no blueprint on how to raise a child, or what was the right thing to do. Right. Most people followed what their parents did and how it may have worked. And as we said, well, I want better for my kids than what I had. And sometimes that ain't always the best thing to do, because we have created a entitled society. Yeah, I agree.
I was going to say how, like, the middle child syndrome, or how younger siblings are treated. I know growing up, and I spoke to my dad about this before, how he was the middle child and I'm his middle child. So sometimes the things that happened to him growing up, the way he was, like, the weight was on him, he does that to me sometimes. And I had to tell him, like, you was able to handle that. I can't handle all this pressure sometimes. It's a bit much for me. So I just know that kind of had, like, some effect on me growing up. And also for the twins, they're the younger siblings, but Leah is the baby. How the way he would talk to me, they couldn't handle that. Right. Because they were the younger siblings. And then the way he talked to Leah, he couldn't talk to Lisa like that. Mm-hmm. So, just the way that parents are raised, sometimes the way they do their children in it.
So in your business, how would you tell those parents to treat their kids in that type of relationship?
Well, it's definitely totally different, but I think in that sometimes the children that without the disability feel left out, because the children with disability require so much attention. Okay. So it's best to find a way to balance that out. A lot of parents, they think it's like the end of the world when their child is diagnosed, so they put all of their focus, their extra time into that child, and the other kids get left out.
And which can further handicap that child, grow, even if they are handicapped.
Well, and it makes the other siblings, like, resent the child.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, in parent-child relationships, it's best to do the best that you can. And if you still have doubt, seek help. As we always say, seek help, and try to just talk to somebody about, what I try to do with my kids was, give me an assessment. What can I do better? What am I doing? What am I not doing enough of? What can I do better at? Is anything missing? Find those questions that can fit your children to help you become a better you for them. Because like I said earlier, we miss it. We think that we're doing everything right, but because there's so much going on in our because they're our personal life, but because there's so much going on around us, we miss the little things. And it's just like, you may come home one day mad at work. You don't have enough money to do this. You can't do this. You can't find this. And you get home and then your child haven't completed their chores, and it's smack. We're rushing into beating on them because they didn't complete their chores. And in fact, it's just something that we didn't do at work, or something happened at work, instead of saying, hey, you know what? You got 20 minutes to finish these chores, or else this, that, and other. So we have to make sure that we understand, our children's handicaps, our children's growth, our children's good things, our children's bad things, our children just everything, and allow them to be able to sit down and talk with you as a parent about how we can make things better.
I think also, I think that in order to really be able to discipline a child, the first thing that you have to do is you have to prove your love.
Okay.
And I think that's where we fail a lot of times. We say we love our children, by the actions that we do,
right.
But have we proved to them that we love them?
Okay.
And once that child know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that my mother, my father loves me, they accept discipline. Actually, children want to be disciplined. They really want to be disciplined because they know they're doing something wrong. And if you let them get away with it, a lot of times we be trying to be friendly, but they will feel like they don't really care about me because they let me do anything. Right. And that becomes a habit of bad behavior that now they're seeking out attention for discipline.
Right.
When you trying to, in your mind, you saying, well, I don't want to whoop them. I don't want to, I'm just going to let it slide when they really is asking for discipline. Right. So the dynamic is so hard sometimes that we love a child so much that we end up doing the same thing to them that our parents did to us. And we said that we wouldn't do it, but because we love them, we let them get away with the things that our parents let us get away with, and we knew it was wrong. Right. And we felt bad about it, and didn't change. So there's a lot of the dynamics is so complicated that I think the biggest thing is that the first thing that you have to do before you can discipline a child, really think that you have to prove your love. And proving your love is not by feeding them, not by clothing them. It's letting them really understand that I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. Right. And I love you. And all of these sacrifices that I'm doing is for your betterment. But you got to understand that this is a sacrifice. Right.
Sometimes I think parents forget to stop and ask the child, what do you need?
That's pretty
because
deep.
we spend a lot of time doing and making all these sacrifices for them, and beyond the basic necessities, somewhere to live, food, clothing, shelter, that's the basic stuff. You was gonna need that anyway if you had the child or not. So making sure the lights are on at home. I mean, these are these type of things. But did you just stop and say, because sometimes when we are spending so much time going back and forth and doing this and trying to make sure that they have the best of everything, right, you stop and ask the child, you know what, did you enjoy that? Did you like this or whatever? That's the child very well could say to you, no, daddy, no, mama, you know what? I would have been okay if we would have just done this at home. Would have saved you a lot of money. That was frustration and aggravation. So now they are in a spot where they feel like they have to do, and then it starts becoming, you're doing that for you. Right. More for you than for me, at me as a child. The other thing that I was thinking about as I was looking at the topic for tonight when I was coming home, sometimes we don't extend enough grace to our kids. Grace in the sense of understanding that they're not these perfect little people, but they are growing, they are maturing, and we may get to a place where you should have known better than how. Right. I mean, how was I supposed to know better than this? Have you shown me an example of something different? Or if this is some things are just going to be some growing pains that they've got to experience. They've got to go through some things because you can tell them and show them all these different things to do. But sometimes they just feel like they gotta bump their head, and some things they really do. But as a parent, because we love them so hard, we try to shield them and protect them from so many things. But we cause them to miss out on some life experiences that they really do need to go through for their own personal development.
Right.
So at offering them some grace, I mean, as they, you can only hold their hand for so long.
Right.
But understand though that they've got to go through some things too. So those are the two things that I was thinking
So
about.
the question they have right there for you, addressed to you. But you know, the important thing, you can read it though. But the important thing is to understand that we all are growing, we all are learning, and if you have these questions, ask these questions about raising children, no matter what age you are, because it's never too late to try to make amends or try to make things better. Because a lot of times we think that we have done everything right. We think that my way is the only way, and that's the wrong thing to think and the wrong thing to do.
But she brought up a real good point that I really hadn't really thought about. We spend so much time trying to please our children that we never ask them what they really need.
Right.
And that that really kind of hit me because I thought about a lot of times we say we'll say things to our kids like, man, you got the best clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You wearing Jordans and your friend don't have.
Right.
But they wouldn't even know what Jordan was if you didn't buy them.
Introduce them to them. Right.
So we spend so much time trying to show the world that we're good parents,
mm-hmm.
that we don't show our children that we're good parents.
Right.
And man, that hit me hard because I've always wanted to provide.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I never really thought about it. That I don't know if I've ever really asked any of my girls, what do you want? At this point, I don't care what they want.
Because they're grown.
I don't care what you want. What you want, But I'm it just hit me when she said that. So I'm glad that she's my partner because she probably asked those questions.
And that's what I was going to say.
But I didn't because being a father, I was so busy trying to make sure that they had those Jordans or whatever. The latest clothes were the bags
Go down a little bit
or whatever. Somebody's a liar. But anyway, all I knew is that if she say they want it, then I try to make sure they got it. But I never did, never thought to really ask that question. So that's real deep.
She made sure, and I thought it was, honestly, we all thought it was going, y'all, I'm gonna talk again. Like she wanted to know, well, how do you guys feel? What's going on? He was like, oh, where you going now? But growing up, as we got older, it made it like a open.
Right.
So we didn't have to like beat around the bush. Even though I start off, every time I gotta say something, I start off with, well, my
And that's see that right there saying no judgment.
Okay, so
don't you think I'm a horrible person when I tell you this.
Okay, so before I start, Mom, let me say this. So but that helps us to be able to communicate with her, well, with both of them better. And also it was one more thing.
As she's getting her thoughts together, I think that is one of the key elements of the parent-child relationship, the grandparent-child relationship, the sister-brother, the sibling relationship, is that communication piece. Because when there are plenty of siblings who don't get along, and that could be for any number of reasons. I mean, it could be something as simple as one viewed the other one as the favorite, and that left resentment. So it didn't matter how much the parents or parent tried to provide for that other child. In their mind, they felt like nothing was going to be good enough because the parent favored the other one the most. So when you keep that line of communication open between whatever relation, I mean, that could be spousal,
Right.
whatever kind of relationship
Relationship,
in general. If you don't have that communication to where I feel like when I say something to you, you're actually listening to me. Because as parents, if we're out trying on our hustle and grind, we got a million things going on in our head anyway.
Right.
So when our child comes to us and they got this list of things that's going, and they have a lot of stuff going on in their little world. So if they don't feel like, okay, when I talk to my mama or I talk to my daddy, they are really listening to me, and if they're not present,
Right.
being present, not just being that body in the house with them, but being present for me. I think that could go a long way as well. That's important to them to know that my parents are going to show up for me, not show up in the sense of they showing up with materialistic things, but it's their presence.
Right.
They're gonna be a listening ear. That's sounding board and a no judgment zone all the time. Yeah, you still gotta be parents, but in a sense, you gotta kind of scale back sometimes and let them get it out, because it's a lot of kids with things bottled up that's really killing them. And they are a volcano ready at any moment to erupt because of all the things that they have going on. So if they can't look to their parents as safe havens, then who do they have?
Right. And going to the question that Lucretia asked, one of them, she was saying that we never think to ask our kids questions about our relationships, and I'll open that door up with any relationship. We don't. I was never one to ask my kids about any relationship I had, no matter if it was a friend or spouse or whatever, how they felt about that relationship.
Yeah.
You know what? In my opinion, what I think sometimes, because kids will give you that raw truth.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hear because we really almost on the verge of being in love.
Right. We don't want to break it.
Don't say nothing about my boo.
Right. Don't
just like us.
Right. Don't. But we as parents, we are very quick to tell them about their relationships. But
that's that line where you say, you need to get out of grown folk business.
Yeah.
You need to get out of my business.
Well, stop talking so loud.
I'm a grown up and you a child. Go back there in your room and be.
But you know what? But that is important, because what if you end up linking up with this person and you marry them? That person is going to be an intricate part of their lives as well. So you need to know, as a parent, you need to know what you think, what kind of vibes you're getting from this person, because if your eyes are all glossy with goo goo gaga, you may miss.
When your eyes are glossy over someone, do you miss?
I don't miss nothing. I clear that gloss out quick.
You done miss plenty of things, boo boo.
Man, if y'all listen to her.
I love you.
But I do think that we do have to definitely honor their opinion, because if you don't listen to your child and you get with the person, it's going to be a miserable relationship, because there's always going to be some static. So I think the best thing to do is to hit it head on and find out reasons. Then maybe go to counseling.
Yeah.
I can even say, like, if one of the siblings comes to the parent and wants to share some feedback, because the kids, they had their little meetings too. They had their little talks too. So if one decides to be the spokesperson for the group, I think as parents we need to listen, because they are voicing the sentiments of the group.
And that's your family. And one thing you can make choices of. When you bring that child into the world, you can't make a choice not to be their parent. Right. Now you can make a choice whether or not you're gonna provide for them, you're gonna take care of them.
Parent them.
But You created them.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it should be your responsibility. And your responsibility is to make sure that you lead that child in a way that they can become responsible and productive adults in society. So I think we should value their opinion. Betty, like I said, let's be real for a second because we don't have much time. We've all seen the mothers that were single mothers that got new boo and neglected their child.
Right.
All of us, I'm sure all of us have seen it because that woman, one, she's tired of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, whether she said or not, there's a little level of resentment because she was stuck with the child. And I hate to say it like that, but let's just be real for a second. She was kind of stuck because the father just took off and he gone.
Or whatever.
Whatever the case may be, not really in either of their lives.
Right.
And then she has the financial responsibility. So she's really in a position where she needs some help. She found somebody, but this person don't necessarily want to raise somebody else's child. Mm-hmm. So it puts her in a position where she has to make a hard choice. And a lot of times we've seen where the woman chose boo over boo boo.
Right.
And that becomes an issue. So I think that and that's the reason if we can get this generation to understand before you make that decision, make sure that you understand totally what it entails and don't make no mistake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what you're doing. Don't make a mistake and father or mother a child that you're not ready to take care of. And I know that's probably easier said than done, but it's the raw truth of the matter.
So I think when we're looking at the well-being of our child or our children, don't just think about the physical aspect of making, like I said before, making sure that they have all of their basic needs met, but let's also make sure they're mentally so they are in a good place, they are in a good space. And if not, what's caused this? What's at the root of it? Or how can I help you? That's when they need a friend. They need their parent to be their friend or their counselor or something. But parents, if you got too much going on where you can't help them because you messed up yourself, your childhood left you scarred, at least, I mean, if you said, okay, I ain't going to no counselor, I'm not seeking no therapy for myself, you owe it to your child to give them better.
Right.
And not let them carry these issues and these things on over into adulthood.
And repeat cycles.
That's right. Because hurt people hurt people.
It's vicious.
Hurt people hurt people. And it's sad that we would hurt something that we created. I mean, somebody that we created, and truthfully, we love them.
Right.
But we don't understand that, we have so much that's been bottled that we carry it over. They often say the sins of a father will carry over into a son.
Right.
We need to break these generational curses that's causing our children to be in so much pain. And painful children create dysfunctional adults.
Right.
Dysfunctional adults create chaos in society. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with so much chaos right now in society. All of these kids hurting each other, all these violent acts. And we keep saying that we don't know what to do. Yeah, what we need to do is become better parents.
Right. And, some people would say that, well, my child is just bad. And I can't just say that because some of the issues come from us as parents. We caused some of the issues because we ignored some of the signs previously, or we just, had so much going on that we didn't care.
Right.
And we saw it, but we just said, you know what, I'll deal with it later. And They just, they're just acting out right now. But as Lady Lisa was saying, the best thing to do is at those times of changes that you see in your child's life, give them counseling.
And then sometimes people just say they bad because they like to use that as an excuse to not parent them.
Right.
So
it's
you'd
so
rather
much
just
easier.
you rather just fall back on what society says anyway, because you don't spend that much time with them. So now you just going off what the teacher said, what their friends, what other people are saying, instead of actually taking some time and just beat it
and investigate. If somebody came to me and reported that my child did this, this, and this, as a parent, I would investigate before I came back and just, you getting a whooping.
Yeah.
For what? So and so told me you did this, and I'm finna beat you.
Yeah.
And you go in and you beat your child. Never had a conversation. You just took this person's word over the child that you birthed, and your responsibility is to take care of them.
Right.
You took somebody else's word. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the word of an adult, but I'm saying that at least research it a little bit, because
causes behind things.
and every perception becomes reality.
Right.
The way a person and another person may see doesn't mean that was exactly the way it was.
Right.
You may have saw it at the end, but you didn't get the beginning, and you don't know what happened in between. So you just saw little Johnny over there. That joke is bad.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that somebody was bad to little Johnny.
You always see him fighting and not knowing he's taking up for somebody.
Right.
Instead of just him acting out himself.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. As talking about parent-child relationships, sibling interactions, relationships in general, and since we talked about spousal integration with kids, what would be a good time to introduce the person that you're dating with your child?
Is that for me?
I don't got no kids. I don't know.
What time? When did your mama introduce you?
When she was born.
And I told them that if
To her
somebody
boo.
died or
She
somebody
introduced you to
separated,
yeah, boo.
don't bring them to me.
Don't bring me.
I think this is just my thought personally. I think that you need to, before you introduce a person to your child, first you need to really make sure that y'all in a relationship,
Right,
and not just dating. And it's a situationship. Yeah, don't introduce them. And you know what the worst thing in the world to me is to introduce uncle and auntie to your children when you know that ain't uncle. Yeah, this Uncle Joe. Say hey to your Uncle Joe. Who he kin to? How he kin to us, Mom?
I ain't seen no family.
Get in your room, boy. Get in your room. Don't worry about that. That's your Uncle Joe. Then you got Uncle Ben that comes on
grown
Tuesday.
folk business.
Yeah, Uncle Rice that comes on Wednesday. My goodness, how many uncles I got? So I definitely, to me, it's when you really know that your situationship has become a relationship.
So when you're okay, and then what I was gonna say is, if your relationship, if your whatever y'all calling yourself, if it's already complicated, don't bring your child into the complication.
Yeah.
Make sure that you and your whatever, you and that person, y'all, when y'all get aligned and y'all see where this is going, because if y'all it's a casual relationship anyway, why bring your child into, you can't keep your casualness,
right,
because you don't want that constant flow of people in and out of your child's life, right? And then too, you don't want your child, because as children get older, then they can start, man, mama was a
rolling stone. Boom, boom, boom,
or daddy was a. So you want to set a good example for how for a relationship.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And it was just a question as the topic came about, because I have heard people say that, right then, because if I fall in love, I ain't trying to, or if, I don't like them, it's just different. You hear different quick answers and different scenarios about it. It was just one, since I know that y'all counsel people, couples before. It was just one that I knew that you probably talked about, but just to make sure that other people would hear it on the news feed. But, in this conversation, we talked about family issues, the dysfunction in families. And just because a family is dysfunctional don't mean that it's not great.
Right.
Because every family have skeletons in their closet. Issues, skeletons, what tumbleweeds or whatever you want to call them. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're able to create an environment that our children can talk to us, so that we can talk to our children, and it not be an elephant in the room all the time. Because sometimes when a person can walk into the room, you feel a weight.
Right.
And if there's a weight in there, you don't want to talk because you don't know what to say. And like you were saying that your mom will see you walk in the room, that facial expression. If that face says "Don't talk to me," it could be something that that kid really needs to talk about. But because your facial expression says "Don't come my way," you know what? I'm going to my room because Daddy got that look on his face. He gonna go off on me, so I don't want it. Family issues. This month, we tend to talk about more on family issues, and I think that we want to try to add in their blended families, because there's something
that's a good one
going on today. There's so many families that are blended because of divorce, because of death, because so many things that are going on. Some people are raising other people's kids, or some people are raising their grandkids or something like that. So there's always something blended in the family, and it causes issues. It causes a lot of issues in this time. And we won't talk about feeling supported in the family. We won't talk about resentment, forgiveness, jealousy, and even some abandonment issues. And those abandonment issues are issues that can carry on till they're resolved or you die. Because feeling abandoned can really hurt. So as we start off the new year, we want to try to use these topics. They're not set in stone because we like to be fluid. And if there's something you want to talk about, let's talk about them. But as this month of January, let's try to talk about family issues. Start the year off trying to make a change in our family.
Right. I think it's wonderful that we start the new year off with the foundation of everything, and that's family. So if we can just get our families to move from just maybe dysfunctional to crazy. Let's move.
Let's make a change.
Make
a little bit better. It ain't there, but it's a little bit better.
But we getting there. We making some changes. We're making some adjustments. Then that will help the community. That will help the church. That will help the individuals even to just grow and be better people. Healthy and whole.
Absolutely.
And that's what we seeking for, people who want to be healthy and whole.
Absolutely.
And I challenge anybody that's watching, come be a part of the conversation. I mean, we can always make a little bit more room, pull up another chair, and
go into the sanctuary.
And I definitely appreciate all of the comments. It seems like people was actually in tune and really appreciate the discussion. So we're definitely thankful for that.
Absolutely.
Throw those hearts up.
You got anything you want to say, Gift?
Just as the gift to everyone around me, I just like to thank you.
Pray for me. Pray for me.
We thank you and we love you. And until next time,
God bless you.